What's going on, everyone? Nicholas Kuntz here. I just wanted to take a few minutes here just to go ahead and introduce myself. Welcome to my channel. Um, if you stay tuned for a few minutes, I just want to go through really quickly a little bit of things about me, um, how I got into the hobby, um, a little bit of my backstory and like the purpose for and the direction of this channel. So for starters, I grew up. I was born in 1989, so I grew up, with Pokemon. The the sitcom first came out, I was obsessed immediately, and I loved Pokemon. It was something that I practically dreamed about. Like I was one of my biggest fantasies as a small child was, the ability to be like Ash Ketchum and go out there and like catch these awesome, you know, creatures with all these cool abilities and powers. I just thought that was like such a neat and awesome like just such a neat and awesome concept, along with the idea of like a young boy going out into the world to like get his adventure and like mature into a man and all that kind of stuff. I think that there's a lot about that like that drew a ton of people in, and so I was definitely one of those young boys. And so, I put it behind me, just like I think a lot of us did, when we were basically belittled and made fun of about our love for Pokemon. And so, back in 2020, when I started to realize, wait a minute, there's a lot of adults getting back into this hobby, and there's a lot going on with it right now. Actually, it's not just the cards that we used to have when we were a kid. Like there's a whole span of history from then to now, and it has actually never stopped. And there's like a really neat opportunity to go back and experience all this stuff that you've missed. And so, that was what, I got thrown right back into back in 2020. I went all in with the hype and the craze, 25th anniversary, what was it, Evolving Skies, people still trying to hunt, sun and moon product that was still popping up in different areas and things like that. These, ultra premium collections started to become a prevalent, thing within the collector space. And I just was, I was just all in, give it all to me, take all my money, just give me everything you got. Unfortunately, I think like many of us, when we first start getting back into the collecting space from, coming from that childlike place, like I kind of described it, that I came into it from, is we kind of go a little too ham. At least I went a little too ham. Spending money I shouldn't have been spending on cards, with this like perspective, hope, and that I'm just going to make all this money quickly and be able to flip cards, and I'm going to start making some kind of a turning this into a profitable business, and watching other people do it, successfully. Ultimately, though, I learned, like with anything, you have to incur some failures normally, and to realize the mistakes from those failures is how you really achieve greater success moving forward. And so, ultimately in 2020, making a lot of those financial mistakes and, life mistakes, I ended up putting myself in a position to where I had to ultimately offload and lose my entire, collection, everything that I had been putting together, which, at the time may have only been about, three or four thousand, $2,000-3,000 worth of cards. It's only been a couple of years since the time that I had to offload those cards, and that collection today would be worth probably more than double, of what it was. And I had put together some really incredible cards that were, specifically good specimens to go off for grading. And anyway, long story short, we find ourselves back here, where today, where I wanted to re-begin. I had to kind of put it aside, put it away, no collecting, focus on important priorities and getting a foundation established back underneath myself. And, I'm still working on that now to an extent, but I think that it's really incredibly important to plan for the future, and to be saving for the future, regardless if you're still repairing some things from the past. And so, one thing that I tremendously want to do, is to get back into the collecting space. I've wanted to. I've taken the last several years off, and this is me, stepping back into the collecting world, but with a real purpose. Okay, and so for me, it had to be bigger than just wanting to, collect cards because, I just like spending money on it, and I want to, be like I want to be what do they call it? In the stock trading world, they call it oh God, I can't even think of the word. God dang it. They call it something. It's where you are speculator. That's right. That's the word I'm looking for. A speculator in the stock market. Like I can speculate within the card market, and I can play games with that. And to me that I can have fun with that. But to me, I like the idea of there being a greater purpose behind it than just accumulating more money for myself. And so one of the things that I decided to do when I was saying, okay, hey, I'm going to get back into the collecting space is I'm going to come in with a plan and have it serve a greater purpose. So for me, my plan, ultimately I've refined my collecting style tremendously to exclude a lot of the things that were not successful, that I learned were not successful from when I was beginning to collect back in 2020. And so, one of the, shoot, I lost my train of thought there. And so that greater purpose that I came up with is that, my Pokemon investing, my collecting is to serve the future of my son's life. So, my son is 2 years old now. So as of right now, I have a prospectively 15 to 16 year plan of collecting. So over the next 15 to 16 years, I'm going to commit to investing in, the different areas that I enjoy collecting, with the intention and hope to be able to not only share the hobby with my son as he gets older, but to show him and teach him about the potential that there is for investing in things within the future. And as well, it will be essentially a way to store that value so that we can apply it towards his life when it comes time for him to start making important decisions, like whether or not he wants to go to college or whether or not he's going to start a business outside of high school, like coming out of high school or something like that. I want to be able to be, saving and preparing to be able to support any of the dreams or aspirations that he has. And I think that this is going to be a really fun way to do it because it's something that we'll be able to share and do together. And then, who knows, potentially, if he's as interested in it as, I hope maybe potentially he will be when he becomes older and is more able to participate in it directly, I can start teaching him some of the things that I've learned and potentially even show him how to start his own niche collection that he can be trading within. And it just can be such a great opportunity to have fun together, to learn some valuable lessons about investing, about, the potential for loss as well as the potential for gain, and knowing how to be smart so that you can avoid making some of the bigger mistakes that a lot of people make when they invest in the card space. And that's pretty much it. And so effectively, I've kind of honed a lot of what my collecting, honed it back down to is just the cards, one that I really, really enjoy, and the things that I absolutely think that are going to be things that I enjoy, but also fit the niche of a prospectively good growth potential. So, for instance, I'm going to be going over to the table here shortly, and I'm going to be recording some footage of some of the cards that I've recently picked back up. So before I go too far forward, basically I did have a little chunk of some UFC cards left over from when I paid off my partner, and I had to remove, when I stepped away from the trading card scene and paid off the debt that I had with the cards that I had. I had still some UFC stuff that he didn't want, and so I had just been holding on to that for quite a while. And I had finally decided, okay, you know what? I think it's a good time to take this UFC product, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it and take what I get from it and restart. It's time to finally start, even in small ways, here and there, little things to add, little things to submit. I wanted to find a way to recreate a small budget to be applying towards this purpose so that I'm effectively, saving for my son's future. And I'm also still getting to participate in something that I really, really enjoy, that I truly brings me a lot of, a lot of just fun and enjoyment. And I want to be able to meet more people that, are smart and are doing something similar, with their time, with their spare time. And so some of those things that are important to me when I got that cash back, is definitely utilizing the graded card market significantly more. I definitely want the majority of my future card collection to be in PSA graded slabs, or near mint copies of raw cards. I really like the idea of just collecting slabs more, but to me it's a lot. The fun is, one, speculating on really great cards that grow extremely well when they 10, as well as, just collecting good near mint copies to submit and having that excitement of sending it off and that anticipation of waiting to get it back and getting what grades you're going to get. Excuse me. And so, yeah, so that's like what I'm really excited about. So what I'm going to do is, excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to record a short video that shows me, shows some of the cards that I have picked up with those funds that I received from the UFC cards that I sold. And I'm going to basically be preparing a small lot of cards that I'm going to be submitting to PSA for grading, and so that I can potentially see if we can grow some value within our collection. We're gonna roll the dice and do a little bit of gambling. Hopefully some wisely educated gambling, and I think that well, we'll just see what happens. I'm excited to learn as I go. I know that there'll be plenty of feedback from people who are in the community who watch this video, and I just love the idea of getting to network, meet more people, and learn, and grow the hobby in a positive way together. That's what I'm here to do, and I'm excited for that. So let's get into some of the cards that I've collected so far. Before I start, though, one thing that I was really fortunate is a couple of cards got slid in and hid into my UFC collection. And so one of those cards that I thought was gone forever that I somehow happened to retain was the GameStop stamped Charmander promo. And so that is definitely going to be one of the cards that I'm going to be submitting to PSA. And for the people that like to watch this that are in my age, around my age or older, that hear me talk about collecting Pokemon cards and that just shake their head and laugh, that to the, enormous amount of people that still think that this is just like a kid's hobby, that there's no place for adults in it whatsoever. I hate to break it to you, but Pokemon pushes this stuff in the insane way that they do, not just because 10-year-olds buy it. They wouldn't be anything that they are today if there wasn't, millions and millions of adults all across the world funding that business. So, and it is rivaling the largest trading card, or honestly, it's rivaling any market period on the planet for its value gain over time. I mean, there's really no investments that I can see, that have anywhere near the consistency of growth that certain types of Pokemon products consistently do if you look for the right kinds of trends and patterns, and are a little bit just wise about how you make those decisions. So anyway, enough said. Let's go ahead and go to the table, and let's go through some of these cards that I have re-picked up that I basically started my new collection with. A lot of these were picked up from just the first small local card show that I was able to attend. and a couple of them were just were slabs, and a few singles that I was able to pick up just recently locally also. So enough out of me. So I appreciate you for coming to my channel. This is my first time making a YouTube video. Please take it easy on me. I'll get better, and I hope that you'll subscribe to the channel and give me a chance to see how the channel progresses, and maybe you'll get a few insights into some smart alleys and avenues to maybe grade some cards, make some extra money, whatever. Anyway, thank you guys so much, and let's get over to the table.